Well, good morning. We are here today with Mary Verstraete. Mary is not only a Habitat board member, but she is also one of our loyal volunteers and has been a long time involved with Habitat for Humanity when she was at the University of Akron in the School of Engineering, and has just had a long history with us. So Mary, thank you so much for joining us this morning and doing one of our Imagine Impact videos in our series.
My pleasure. It's really nice to be here, and I always like to talk about habitat.
Oh, well, we love when you get excited and talk about habitat. So Mary, I'm going to start with the first question we've been asking all of our video guests. And it's something we've been asking our staff and our board members and, you know, everyone that we know, especially during this pandemic. So what does home mean to you, Mary?
You know, I got the questions and I've watched the other videos and it started me thinking, and, you know, home to me it's an emotion. And so I was really struggling to put into words what I wanted to say until I got the last Habitat newsletter. And in that newsletter, there was a highlight on one of our partner families, Frank. And I read what home meant to him, and I thought, he captured everything I wanted to say. So I'm actually going to read what Frank said because it truly captures my emotions about home. And he said, home is a warm friend that always welcomes you at the end of the day. Home means family, a safe place to be yourself, laugh, cry, and reflect. And I just thought that was beautiful and very well stated and truly emphasizes how I feel about home.
Yeah, you know, we are so excited for Frank. He's one of the East Avenue homes, and we're just really excited to continue to work with him to complete his home. He's certainly had some struggles. He's had some surgeries during the time he's been in our program, and he's just a sweet, sweet soul. Every time we turn around, there's always some little gift that seems to show up here. For some need off the wall that somebody has said, and then I'll find out that Frank was the person that bought it and donated it to us. So just little things like when we needed a controller to advance the slides on our for our presentations in the training room, he bought us one. Somebody needed a keyboard for their laptop, he brought us one. So, you know, just small things, and he's just such a giving soul. He's, you know, what we're partnering to give him, he's giving back. So that definitely means a lot.
I feel really excited for Frank because I actually was the board member who went on the home visit with Frank when we first met him. So it's great to see him this close to getting his house.
Yes. So Mary, why did you choose to support Habitat for Humanity? Not just our Imagine Impact campaign, but, you know, what made you kind of return to the board after, you know, being involved early on and taking some time off and then kind of re-engaging and coming back?
No, I've always felt strongly about home, felt strongly about family. And I've always felt extremely fortunate that I never once in my life, you know, really felt that I wouldn't have a home of my own. Buying a home was my own first home, which I'm still in, was something that was always really important to me. And I just feel very fortunate that I was in a position where I never doubted whether that would happen. So to know that there's a lot of people out there who don't know if they'll ever have a home of their own, who don't know how they'll get to that point, it hit, no pun intended, it hit home with me in terms of, I thought this was a really important thing, knowing how important it was to me, knowing it's important to other people as well, to have a home of their own and to be able to help do that, you know, was great. I like giving back. I like paying it forward. I like, you know, just helping people. And this was just a great way to help people, help families have that home of their own.
Yeah. Paying it forward. Was that what you were sneaking in here and dropping off those Hershey Kisses?
Yes, I was. Well, it's the holidays. You always got to do a little something special, and this year especially.
We all need a little bit of chocolate to get through the day.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you for those.
You're welcome.
So, as a, a longtime faculty member at the University of Akron, and being in the College of Engineering, and how does stable housing, Mary, in your opinion, affect education, of our young people, not only through their primary school years and high school years, but as they arrive to you as a college student?
Right, right. Stable home life is a huge contributor towards a person's sense of self, sense of well-being, their confidence, I think, level. Home is a place where, again, you grew up and you learn how to be an adult. And you learn that through a lot of different experiences. And I think it's extremely important in terms of having that family and those values. I was reading this question and thinking back to a student of mine who he was actually working on his PhD. So he'd made it through college on a variety of loans and scholarships and such, and he was working on his dissertation, and his family was struggling financially. His father had lost his job, and he ended up quitting, right, within a year of finishing a dissertation, because he felt it was more important to get a job so that he could help support his parents. And so it just, it affects everything, having that stability.
Yeah. And as a, an person in academics, I'm sure you did your fair share of research in the College of Engineering. So of course, as research shows that a person's access to opportunity is directly linked to their community where they live. So, with our Imagine Impact campaign and a goal of building up our community by building and rehabbing 75 homes, how do you see that growth affecting our community?
Well, I think it not only affects the community as a whole, but it affects the individuals in the community so dramatically. Knowing that you live in a safe area, I know that many places where we've worked with, where we've done some rehab and even some of the board ups and that sort of thing, is just to make an area or a community safer. And safety. Having a home is one thing, but having a home in a safe area, I think, is paramount for your family, for your children, for yourself. And I think building up our community, part of that is also, making people aware of the mission of Habitat, how Habitat truly works. I myself, when I first started with Habitat, I really didn't know that much about how people got houses and that sort of thing. And hearing there occasionally people saying, "Oh, we don't want these homeless people living next to us," and they don't realize that those are not, the people who are getting Habitat homes are working very hard to get those homes, and are working very hard at jobs and raising families, and they're just like you and me. They've just fallen upon times where it's difficult to make that down payment, to come up with the money where you're not only paying rent and paying all your other bills every week, but you can save up enough money for that house. It's a huge investment. And, by having Habitat and having people knowledgeable about what Habitat does and how they do things, I think is really important in our community as an awareness.
Sure. Because, every time we do a presentation, I did one for the Green Rotary Club yesterday, a Zoom 7:30 morning meeting. And of course, every time we give one of those talks, we always dispel the big two myths about Habitat, that it's a free home and that it was founded by Jimmy Carter. So, not a free home. These are 30-year zero interest mortgages. And, then when you start telling the story about the zero interest mortgage platform, and that we're not here to make money on the homes, but we are here to recapture costs of building them, and that each of those families' mortgage payments, one family pays for the next, and two families pay for two more, and four families pay for four more, and that we hold and service that mortgage. And of course, beloved President Carter became involved with Habitat after he was president. He was considered the very first volunteer humanitarian. He and his wife are Habitat humanitarians. And we are deeply appreciative of their support for all these years that they've provided it. So,
They've done amazing work,
oh
amazing
yeah,
work.
oh yeah,
Awareness, again, because of them, I think more people are aware of Habitat for Humanity than if they hadn't been active.
yes, yes. So, can you personally recall, Mary, a childhood experience in your home that you'd want to share with our viewers?
Yeah, I thought about this a lot, and I can't recall much, and I realize that that's telling in and of itself,
Mm-hmm.
because I couldn't remember any, sort of issue or problem or anything like that. It means that I had this safe and secure home which I could go to. Most people find this very hard to believe, but when I was young, I was incredibly shy, incredibly introverted, and home was that safe place to go. It was always a bit of a challenge for me at school because I wasn't outgoing. I, had very few friends, and being able to go home and study and make sure I got into college and things like that. I always, I had my own room, I had a lovely desk and a place to work, and my parents made sure that, studying was important to us and it was something you did every day. But I also, had a wonderful neighborhood and a wonderful, you know, kids to play with and that type of thing. So just from a whole growth experience, because I can't think of anything, means that I was fortunate enough to have this tremendous, upbringing where I didn't have to worry about that type of thing. And it's hard to imagine, not knowing or having to go somewhere else, to wait to go home and, have to study in the living room. And all these people who are working at home, I really admire them because I'm horrible at working from home.
Me too.
So I'm glad I'm retired and I'm not working from home. But studying from home as a kid was huge. So having that place to go and study in a quiet place and not have to deal with other kids running around or the TV on and that sort of thing was important to my education.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, stable housing and self-esteem and self-worth. And, again, you mentioned the work at home scenario right now with the pandemic continuing to, I hate to use the term rage on, but continue on. Many people still working from home, many people waiting in food bank lines, many people, waiting in, gift lines at places that are giving Christmas gifts to children. And how do you think some of these situations and that housing stability are affecting people's self-esteem and their self-worth right now?
I think it's affecting it tremendously. I've read a number of things, especially with respect to like the Akron Canton Food Bank, which I've tried to support a little bit more during this pandemic, as well as Habitat. And, the number of people who have never had to reach out and ask for help before. Mm-hmm. It's hard. I mean, I don't think any of us are extremely good at it. Even I live by myself, and when I need help with something, if there's a lot of things you can't do by yourself, I'm horrible at asking for help. And there's no reason to be, but I think everybody can understand it's makes you feel like less of a person when you have to ask somebody else to help you. And whether it's for, food or whether it's, help to get a home, it's hard. It's very hard. And you do feel, as I say, less when you have to do these types of things. So it's a challenge. And, I would just say that, asking for help is hard, but I think we should all be asking for help because I know how good it feels for me to help others.
Sure.
So I like to, my sister's always really hard, at asking for help. She also lives alone. And I'm like, well, think of it this way. Think of if you ask somebody else for help, you're giving them the opportunity to do something that makes them feel good. And I think that hits a mark with a lot of the people who are involved in Habitat and other not-for-profits.
Let's talk a little bit about, your volunteer work here with us. And as families have to perform sweat equity as a part of building their home alongside those volunteers. So how do you see the family's physical involvement and their investment in building their home? How do you think that affects them then, long term?
I think that ties into that last question so much. You're asking for help, but then you're contributing. You're not simply saying, build me a house. It's you're coming out and you're helping in that process, and you're performing your sweat equity in a number of different ways that our partner families can. And I think it gives you that great feeling of, I have a piece of this.
Mm-hmm.
Even in my own home, when I've done work on it, you feel proud of that. You feel, I'm a part of this. I'm a part of this home now because I worked on it, and I worked on other people's homes, and that, and in addition to, it's a great learning process. When I bought my own home, I had very little knowledge of what was entailed in maintaining a home and fixing things. And, I was lucky. I was kind of a tomboy as a kid. My dad introduced me to hammers and screwdrivers and those types of things. But, at Habitat, I became very comfortable using a circular saw, and I feel, much better about using a lot of tools and a lot of resources, and knowing there's people there I can ask questions to. I remember texting one of the site supervisors when I was replacing some insulation one day because I wasn't exactly sure what I was doing, but knew they'd get back to me and give me a heads up, and sure enough, they did.
Well, how about that? See, it's nice to have friends in high places.
Yes, knowledgeable friends in high places.
Knowledgeable friends, exactly. Mary, what would you say, to other people, to our donors, to maybe people that aren't directly involved with us? So if you were going to make a plea to people in our community, what would you say about getting involved with Habitat?
So again, especially in today's day and age, there's nothing more important right now than home and family, and investing in people's futures, because getting involved in Habitat and donating to Habitat allows people to have homes, and in allowing these people to have their own homes allows them to bring up their children in a safe and stable environment, which turns them into positive adults who can make a difference in other people's lives. And it's an ongoing process. You help one person and that person helps another person and gives them the ability to do things for others. But I think right now, especially, there's material shortages, there's shortages in a lot of things, and having the financial assistance to be able to build these homes is very important. It's something we can't do without outside input, and we're thankful for all the donors we have, but with more support, we can do more for our community, we can do more for more people. And I just think that's truly important in these times where we've realized that home is more important than just about anything right now.
How about those, for example, those new retirees, maybe people that are thinking at this end of this calendar year that they're hanging up their professional career shoes? What would you tell them about maybe getting involved in 2021 and what it's like to be a loyal volunteer here?
Yeah, I've loved being a loyal volunteer. It's first of all, it's a great group of people. It's just a fantastic group of people, and they go out and a lot of them build every day. I'm kind of a once a week kind of gal because I got lots of other interests too. But it just is a great feeling. I mean, I love doing stuff for other people, but yes, it also makes me feel really good and accomplished. Helps me get exercise, if nothing else. But I love the ability to go out and help build homes. It's easy to do. You pick up the phone and say, where are we headed today? And you bring your tool belt and your tools and, anything. One of my favorite things about working on Habitat homes is again, the learning process. And I think we have some of the greatest site supervisors in that they are extremely patient. They are willing to train you to do just about everything. I've seen people who've never even picked up a hammer, learn how to pound a nail safely and not hit their thumb, which I do regularly. But it's a great experience, and you're surrounded by great people who are kind of like-minded people who are out there not doing it for anything for themselves, but just giving of themselves for others. And as a retiree, it's great to have the time now to be able to get involved and do that. And for those who don't know how to build and think, oh, I can't do that sort of thing, you can. But if you don't want to, there's also so many other opportunities to volunteer with Habitat, from the Restore to working on committees and working on fundraising events. There's just lots of things you can get involved with. So if being outside, say in January, putting up insulation maybe isn't your idea of fun, then, there's lots of other things people can do to help out when they have the time. And it's, there's no requirements. You show up when you can.
Yeah. And you mentioned some of the other things I wanted to address in my last question with you about your involvement over the years. So, you were kind of involved with our very first Women Build projects and Women Build as a program of Habitat, and being, inclusive of women at build sites, not excluding them. So we want to welcome women to our job sites, whether they become a loyal volunteer or whether they're just a regular, done in a day kind of project. And you're involved in our events, our golf outing and our build in style event. And, you're a board member, you're a loyal volunteer, you attend home visits, you financially contribute. So, when I look up and do a checkbox matrix of board member involvement, Mary Verstraete checks all my boxes. So how can you transfer your involvement over time? How can you, not only encourage others, but how do you keep that pace up, Mary? What motivates you to keep that pace up? And I know we've talked about, your giving heart and, how you feel about giving back to others, but, what is that thing that motivates Mary to get up at the crack of dawn and put on her tool belt and come to a Habitat build site in January and put siding up?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I like doing things for other people. And part of it is just a thankful heart. I do feel that I've just been so fortunate in life. I'm lucky. I try to pass that on by doing things for other people, and making sure that other people's lives can be just as nice and just as happy. And I enjoy it. I enjoy being active. I'm not one to sit around the house and watch TV. And as I say, it's a great learning experience. I like to get out and meet people and talk to people and stay busy. And so staying involved in Habitat, it's become one of my passions. And I think, I've always talked to my students about, find your passion and pursue it. I've also, if you ask any of my students, they'd say I've always worn a lot of hats. So doing a lot of things in getting involved in a lot of activities. That's just sort of who I am and what I like to do is in terms of giving back to others and helping others. I love doing that at the university and helping students. And now I love meeting the partner families. I love hearing their stories. I love kind of getting to know some of them. And it's really rewarding, not only to go to the dedication when they get their house, but something I just recently experienced is enjoying that ability to, burn that mortgage once they've paid it off, which is a fabulous feeling.
That is a fabulous feeling for sure. Well, Mary, I can't thank you enough for taking part in our video series for our Imagine Impact campaign, our 5-year campaign, 75 new and rehab homes, 150 home repairs, changing 1,000 lives, mobilizing 10,000 volunteers. It's a hefty undertaking. And as you know, as a board member, we launched this thing just as the pandemic hit and we were shut down. And so we certainly realized, in the first year, we're behind the 8 ball. But, it gives us time to build momentum into 2021. kind of gives us a chance to put 2020 in the rearview mirror and look out our dashboard into 2021, and hopefully we're driving into the sunshine at this point. That's certainly my hope and my prayer as we go into the holiday season.
Right. And when I was preparing for this, I got to thinking about imagine impact and just those two words. Imagine, dream, and the dreams that our homeowners have and our partner families have to get into their home, and impact, just the impact that it makes on individuals, on the community, on everyone. It's a perfectly named campaign. I just thought it was as I thought more about it, I've been involved in it and we've been talking about it for so long, but I never really thought about those two words. And I think that's really important, imagine impact.
Well, thank you, Mary, for doing this today. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your support. We wish you a great holiday season, and we will definitely see you with your tool belt in January.
I'll be back in January. I'll be at it.
Sounds good, Mary. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
This has been the 6th video in our roundtable discussion series on affordable housing in your community. To watch and listen to our other previous discussions and to learn more about how you can support our campaign, visit hfhsummitcounty.org/Imagine Impact.